Welcome to The Briefing, your weekly debrief of top news by the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com. I'm Rafael Carranza. We know a lot more about the election results, but there's still a lot of votes left to be counted. Sahana, Jayaraman from our wonderful data team here to join us to talk to us about this new mapping tool that will give voters a chance to look more in depth into how Arizonans voted and where these votes are coming from. Sahana, tell us a little bit more about this map.
Yeah, Rafa, thanks for having me. This map is something that the data team developed for this election. So for the first time, the Arizona Republic is offering our viewers and readers a way to see votes come in from every precinct in every county across the state as they're being counted by those counties and filtering up to the Secretary of State. So what we have here is a county level map that shows you how many votes have been counted in each county if you just hover over them. So for example, you can see that in Maricopa County, there have been about 1.35 million ballots returned. 48% of those ballots have gone to nominee Harris, and 50% of those votes have gone to the Republican nominee. And 0.9 went to all of the other candidates that were running. So you can do this for every county across the state.
I think what's important for people to know also is what's the significance of all these tiny little dots that they're going to be seeing here?
Yeah, so when you click into a county, you'll see something that looks like this. We've clicked into Maricopa County here, so this is a precinct level map of Maricopa County. Each of these dots represents 5 votes in the presidential race. The color of the dot represents the candidate to whom those votes went towards. And the number of dots in the precinct represents the number of votes coming from that precinct. So you can see here that there aren't a ton of dots in the Martin precinct. That's because there weren't a ton of voters who voted from the Martin precinct, versus perhaps the Park Central precinct, which is so thick with dots that you can't even really see any ground. It's important to note that the dots are randomly placed within the precinct. It's not like you can pinpoint them to somebody's address, somebody's home. You can't tell who voted. You can just see how many people from that precinct voted and which way their votes went.
And what's interesting, I think, for example, looking at this Maricopa map, you see the parts where you have the concentration of Democratic voters versus a concentration of Republican voters, and areas where it's very, very mixed. I think there's going to be a lot of attention that's going to be placed into a lot of these areas, particularly since there are so many ballots that are still outstanding. And so that goes to the next question. Do we know or have an idea of how many more votes are going to be still coming in over the course of the next few days?
Yes, the Republic's data team did some work to project out how many ballots might be returned in this presidential race. We projected, along with Dr. Chris Weber, a researcher and professor at the University of Arizona, we projected that there were going to be 3,370,000, approximately 3,370,000 ballots returned total in this race. So far, the Secretary of State has released about 2,233,775 ballots. So that's approximately the number that's been counted, which leaves, a little more than a million according to our projections. Important to note that these are only estimates, though. 3,370,000 is a rounded projected figure based on historical data, but it will be replaced with estimates that come from our actual counties in the next day or days.
And of course, because we have so many ballots that are outstanding, we do know from our elected officials that this process is going to be taking several days. I think the last election, it took about 2 weeks to decide the election. So we're expecting that we're going to have a similar timeline to get all of the votes counted. But of course, there are many races that are being the difference there is just like a couple thousand votes. And so as they keep coming in, we're going to be updating all of the tools. You can find all of the information available online at azcentral.com. Thank you so much for joining us, Sahana.
Thanks for having me, Rafa.
That's it for The Briefing today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.